Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first Tinderbox Meetup for 2025, and it just so happens to be our first Friday of the month. So it's a meetup specifically designed for our friends in the APAC region. So it's early for
Thank
some of
you.
them, those that are in India and such. But we have Tad, who's in Japan. So I guess it's what, 9 o'clock in the morning for you right now, ish.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so the goal for this meetup is to try to be a little bit more convenient for our friends, Tinderbox friends and colleagues in the APAC region. So hopefully more of you, when you see this recording, will be able to join and meet up with us. Typically, the format for this meeting is we go around the room and we have people introduce themselves if they're new to the community. We then have them talk about issues, challenges, topics that we're looking to address with Tinderbox. And then if we have a theme, we go through and we address that theme. So pretty small group today. And unfortunately, Kenneth doesn't have a camera or a microphone on his computer. So he is,
Oh no.
yeah,
Oh, I see. Oh,
he's a
okay.
worker, but he can text and type, so we can interact and
Excellent. Hi, Kenneth.
so this will be mostly a conversation with you and me, Tad, unless somebody shows up, but that's perfectly fine. A Tinderbox me and a blank computer or a blank screen is a fun day to have. Having involved is pretty awesome. So let's jump in. So Tad, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what brings you to the Tinderbox community? This is the first time you and I have met, and what's on your mind? What can we play with?
Yeah, sure. I've been using Tinderbox for, I don't know, 10 or so years.
Okay.
And, sorry, I have quite a bad cold. So I'm gonna
Uh,
be hacking away here. Um, so I was initially attracted to it by the map view and the use of visual hypertext. And that's probably how I use it most often still when I open it up. Also, it's a great outliner. But then I also use it to make various little mini applications for things that I need. So one thing, if we have time, I'd love to talk about something that I use in school. So I teach at a university. I
okay.
teach at a university and something that I use to manage my classes.
I teach as well, and I have a whole teaching out of Tinderbox methodology too. So
Hmm.
yeah, maybe that's what we convert this session into is just you and I grokking on how do we teach better with our Tinderbox. Sounds great. So
Yeah.
where do you want to start? And
Well,
what university do you teach at, and what do you teach?
I teach at Ryukoku University here in Kyoto. I teach English.
Okay. Awesome. All right. And and when you say you build little apps in Tinderbox, can you give us some examples of that?
Sure, let's see. Um, let's see here. So, this is the basic thing that I use for my classes.
Okay.
And I start the semester. I just, so I'm, I'm just gonna flash these because I haven't sterilized this file at all.
Yeah.
But
Well,
so it's
and if you like, why don't we do this too? I will do my best to scrub out and mask over student names.
okay.
So
Thanks.
I'll edit the video when we're done. So that won't show.
Okay. Yeah. So I have basically I just have my schedule and by days and then the classes and then at the beginning of the term I paste in people's names and then all of the students' information. So this is just a list of all the information that I need for each student in each class and basically a class register. So I use I do that at the beginning of the semester and then as the semester goes on I plug those student lists into the next folder, which is attendance, and it's just a record. It's really not just attendance, but it's a record of the classes as well. And I use the map view as a classroom map. right? So who's, depending on the classroom, who's there, who's not there. Um, oh, sorry. Let's see.
And is that something you do for every class in terms of the who's not there is there? Kind of
I'm sorry.
is that so that for the classroom seating, is that something you recopy for every class, or how does that work?
Yeah, that one at the beginning of the semester, I basically know the class. I have a different, some maps of the classes, and then I just paste them in. I make a note for each day, and then paste in that map. And then as we're going through the semester, then paste, I'll copy the student list from the previous class and paste it into the next class.
Okay. And are you so you're essentially duplicating the student's name for every class, and so you're getting a lot of notes with that same student's name.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and is that useful for you, or does that create a bunch of extra like chaff in your file, or have you thought about different ways about maybe approaching that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do like I like at the beginning of the class pushing everybody's name into where they're sitting. Just helps me remember who's who, and
Hmm.
um, I just tend to remember
Yeah, and
names.
but one of the things that comes to mind for that that we could play with is the use of agents. So what you might want to think about is rather than reproducing the student's name every time, you
Hmm.
have one roster of all of your students,
Hmm.
and then you just are duplicating the agent. So you run the agent, and then you can drag the alias of the student's name onto the map
Yeah,
view,
that's a
and
good point.
and you
Yeah.
can have the and that might be sent then, and that will bring a lot of potentially other benefits too, because the since the agent is an alias to the student, you
Hmm.
could then have that methodology could then also say on that day, this student was there on that day, and then the alias could be then putting into that student into say a set that says here are the days that student was in class. So then
Right.
on that one student note, you can now have here are all the days that the student was in the class or not. And that might be a way of then running a report on the days that they were there and the days they weren't.
Right.
So that
Because
could be
actually,
that could be something we could explore and play with.
sure, because that's actually my main question.
And actually and if you want, before you go and do that, I guess we can. I'll do my best to go through the video and sanitize the students' names. Or if you want, maybe you could create a copy of this file
Hmm.
and quickly go through the student list and change the
There's,
name to like
as you mentioned,
yeah, there's so many. Yeah, that would be hard to do. Okay.
there's so many notes.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. Well, we can open up a different file and play with that idea. And
okay.
in a blank
Hmm.
file, we can play with that. So essentially what you're doing is my student roster and attendance, and then I see we're doing grades there too. And that methodology too could be really helpful for grading as well. And
Yeah,
so
so when I have
I can give you
quizzes
I
or
can give you
something
some
else,
ideas for it too.
when I have a quiz or something, I can just throw that in that day.
Right.
Um, and then, so the next, the next stage is grades. Um, and again, it's exactly the same, uh, uh, what can I say?
Something
The,
like that.
the organization of student lists and attendance and grades is the same, and the and the same student list gets pasted into each, except this is now more of a dashboard.
Hmm.
Um, so something like this. um,
Okay.
so, but for me, getting the information from the from the attendance, the weekly class list into the dashboard is a little bit of a problem for me.
Okay, work on that.
Yeah. So I I did make an agent. So initially, when I first did this, I gave each student made an agent for each student, but it's just too many
No,
students.
that's too much. That's too much.
Yeah. And then I made an agent that kind of slowly crawls through all of it. Actually jumps from one day to another, one class to another, and crawls through, and then finds the corresponding note in, crawls through the attendance and then finds the corresponding student note in grades, and then transfers the whatever, attendance or quiz or whatever information into that. But it was took a, it's very kludgy and it doesn't work very
Yeah,
well.
well, yeah, let's see if we can optimize that. All right. Okay, and then do you have assignments that then are there as well, or like?
Uh-huh. Um, excuse me. I usually just whenever there's an assignment or a quiz or whatever, I just in the I don't know if I have them in this exactly. Let's see.
Writing A1, all right.
Let's see.
And what are all those? Is that that's the class, right? A1,
Yeah.
and then those are days. Got it.
So I'll throw in. I'll if there's a quiz like here in the attributes. I'll just change the displayed attribute for that and throw in a quiz or whatever the assignment is.
Explain that to me. So how does that work?
So like, I'll just throw it down here, and then for that class, I'll change the display attribute.
Yeah, but you're
then,
gonna need to do that for every single student individually in that with that strategy.
yeah, I select all of the students at one time, but yeah, it's a palaver.
Yeah.
It's suboptimal.
Okay. Well, let's play with that. Let's play around, and then also too is I noticed your outline view. The text is larger than like than the brand icons. Is that because you intentionally set the text larger, or have you zoomed in on the screen?
No, I intentionally set that text that size.
Yeah, got it. All right. Cool. All right. So if you want, let's go ahead and let's open up a blank file on my side.
Okay.
And let's, because I can immediately see some optimization potential there too. Share my screen. And I don't know, we've recently done, we were doing I don't know if you saw the project we were doing with Win Treese the other day, the meetup from a week and a half ago or so. We were actually working on like actually structuring creating a class,
No.
which is interesting. So you might want to check that one out. So
Great.
let's just start from scratch, and we've got about maybe a little over an hour. So we'll just start from scratch about like setting up and building out a class in Tinderbox, right? Because now that I know kind of generally how you've structured your thing, let's play with the methods and see if we can optimize it. Does that sound like fun?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So right out of the gate, so when I think about organizing and managing my Tinderbox files, I tend to have what I'll call 4 notes in a file. So the notes are tending to be scratch notes, writing notes, what I call resource notes, and then the backstage. And that helps me kind of organize my Tinderbox files a little bit more. And the other thing too is I don't know if you do this as well, but do you create a new Tinderbox file for every class, or do you have all of your classes that you teach all in one file?
I have all of the classes in one file.
Perfect. So I do that too. I try to keep all of my projects in one place so that, I can leverage the development of my file. So let's go ahead and I'm going to immediately just go to the file menu and add in, we know we're going to have a person prototype, and we're going to know we're going to need hints. And let's pop directly into outline view to get started. And then one of the affordances that's really nice right out of the gate is using separators. So if you go up to the note menu and click create separator, that creates a separator line, and I'll go ahead and I'll call this backstage. Right. So that way you kind of keep the functional notes down at the bottom, and then these other notes above.
Sure.
Now, as I was thinking, so let's go ahead and create some other notes real quick. So we need so class. So we'll say classes, and we'll say, and that, oh, I created an alias accidentally. Classes, folder, folder, right? And then we'll call this one class 101, class 201, right? Just so we have a couple classes in there.
Sure.
That would go like that. And so at the end of the day, what we're going to do is we're going to be working in class 1, we're going to be working in class 2, so, and you'll have different students in different classes. So here we've got students. Let's go ahead and change the person prototype to student. And do me a favor, and while we're at it, we can go ahead and just call it P student. Let's think about the stuff that we'll want to know about. And before we actually get to that, let's think about a few other things and a few other prototypes that we might want to have in this file. So right out of the gate, in order for me to feel a little, I find it a little bit more helpful. So I click new folder, and I give this little folder icon. And so right out of the gate, I'm going to make all of these folder. And so for me, just having that little folder icon just gives me a little bit more visual affordance on that. So within a class, and then while we're at it, we might want to call class. And within a class, we have students, students folder. We have assignment folder. You call them grades. If you don't mind, I'm just going to call them assignments.
That's fine. Assessment's fine. Yeah.
Or assessment.
Oh,
Yeah, let's do with this. Right. I don't want to go too far off of your. And what did you mean by last, this, next, and information in your file?
oh, that was so that I could just see the one class before and the one class in the future. So it's just an agent that collects.
Oh, it's an agent. Okay. Got it. All right. So in every class, a student folder, assessment folder, and then you also had days.
Had what?
You had the days of each class. You had like like lecture schedule or something like that.
Yep.
Okay. And are you teaching like Monday through Friday every day, or is it like once a week, twice a week? How does that work?
Each class is on a particular day at a particular time. Yeah.
And it's like once a week or something.
Mhm.
Okay. So in our lecture schedule, we'll call this one week 1, 2, week 3, week 4. And let's say we were teaching a 4-week class, because we can go on 14 week, 15 week,
Yeah.
whole year. It doesn't matter. That pattern will repeat itself every week. So I'm thinking as I'm going through this, and so with this in mind, and you notice we're doing this under the P class folder. So what I can go ahead here and call and assign the folder attribute to every one of these. And what we could do, and I might come back and modify this actually, because it is actually a day. So is there anything that actually, what uniquely happens on a particular day in your class? So so let's think about it this way. So we have like We'll go P class day. And on the P class day, that has a start date,
Yep.
that has an end date.
Yep.
And then we also have a new attribute called attendance.
Well, the attribute I that's possible. I use yeah. Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
but what would you use? What would you call it?
So no, please go on.
Right. So what I'm thinking, I'm just totally riffing here, right? I don't
Mhm.
know. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that. I took a screenshot too to help me with that. I'm going to set that to set.
Mhm.
So I have an attendance list as a set.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure if I'm going to use that yet now, but I'm kind of thinking in a class day. And so and so these are going to get class. So you'll see that. So we're going to use the calendar icon for our actual days when we're teaching class.
Mhm.
Um, and for fun, why don't we just go ahead and say like this one, let's say what I'm doing here, you're not seeing it on the screen.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, but for those that are watching the video that
Oh
don't.
yeah, right. Yeah.
So if we
Yeah,
go
sure.
here and so like, and then I'll just copy this real quick. And then how long is a class? Is it an hour, hour and a half?
Hour and a half.
All right. So what we might want to do is say this, and this is where the automation of Tinderbox can start coming into play. So we'll call duration, right? And by default,
Is that really necessary?
it depends on
Every
how.
class is an hour and a half.
Yeah,
And does it really need an end date and does it really need a duration?
it doesn't, but I'm also thinking about like next time you run the class.
Uh-huh.
So you can just copy this folder and do it. And then the other thing too is I noticed you were naming, if I was getting it right, you were actually naming the classes with the dates. Uh,
Uh, yep. Hmm.
yeah, so you could actually so you were putting that information up in the note name.
No,
And
that was with a stamp. I used a stamp to do that from the start date.
right. So but what I'm suggesting we is so what we could do
Uh-huh.
is right. So the idea. So part of it's from reporting too. So you can stick all of that in the name and you'll change the note of the name, but it's
Mhm.
kind of nice too to have the date and the class. So like in the future, you could say, let's go find all of
Oh,
the,
yeah, I think
all of the,
having start date totally makes sense, but I just don't see a
oh
reason
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah,
ending
okay.
the
Yeah.
duration.
To your point, you don't necessarily need to have an end date because you know by
Yeah.
definition it's 90
Yeah,
minutes.
start date's totally.
Yeah, okay, got it. All right. And then we know that all classes are 90 minutes. So here's another thing that comes into my mind as I'm ripping about this. On all of my files, I have a note I call TBX config,
Mhm.
which is a configuration file that I create to store like universal. So we'll go like class duration and and we may never use it, but I'm going to stick it in there anyway because I want it.
Sure.
So I'm going to make it an interval, and so
Hmm.
that by definition all classes are 90 minutes.
Okay.
So that way or like let's say I don't know for whatever reason how many lecture hours did I have in this class, you can
Yeah.
use that variable to calculate the fact that you knew a class was 90 minutes.
Hmm.
uh, also
Good
too
idea.
part of the reason why you might want to do that is and as I'm brainstorming here I might want to think is there an attribute that we want to have like the class didn't happen or it got canceled for some reason. So
Okay.
maybe we have like a status attribute,
Hmm.
and that status attribute would be a set. And yeah, and again, you may not go to this far in this path, but we can pull up our inspector here. If you hit Command 1 and pull the inspector over, come on. And I go to users and I go to status, and you can set such suggested would be like scheduled, um, canceled, scheduled, ran, canceled. Right. So and maybe that is going too far. So maybe what we also want to do is we change this to a Boolean and we say status canceled.
Right.
Right. So because we don't necessarily need the detail, and if it was scheduled, you'll know it ran, and so therefore, if it got canceled, you can just do that, and it got canceled.
Uh-huh.
Right. That might be something else that we could play with.
Could you
Um,
explain to me suggested?
yeah. So on the suggested, let's go ahead. And this is the great thing about Tinderbox is that you can change an attribute type if you want. So let's
Mm-hmm.
go back and make it a set scheduled, ran, canceled. Right. So now if I've gone back here and I'm going to update the notes. And so now the suggested actually pre-populates
Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
the drop down. So it's a way of pre-populating a set or a list
Oh, that's totally useful. Right.
with preset values,
Right. I
right?
see.
Now there's another way of doing that too, which we run in other meetups that I can show you where you use action code to populate that list. And
Uh-huh.
that becomes incredibly useful when you're like writing reports and glossaries. So for the purposes of this particular, since we're in a kind of a teaching class, let's say I didn't want to bother to use the suggested method like this way, because every note has every attribute. As
Mm-hmm.
I noted earlier, I create in my file called the resources folder. And in my resources folder is another way I put in like pre-configuring stuff.
Uh-huh.
So come up here, right mouse click on that baby here, go like this, go in here and go status, right, status, type, folder, we'll go scheduled, canceled, complete.
So what's the difference between having that resources folder and the configuration folder?
Because I put other things in that folder. So let me show you how I do this. So I'm
Uh-huh.
going to say status, right? Okay. So the reason why I often will do things, I get pretty anal when I do stuff like this. What was the name that we put this one? It was status. Oh, we turned it into the Boolean of status canceled. So let's fix that and just call this. So I've now created a. Oh, I've got both now. Let me just fix that. Boolean. Let's go ahead and delete this one. We don't. Oops. I don't, no. Right. I try to clean up the mess.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
happens. Cruft.
Because if I don't do it immediately, it doesn't get done, and then I just end up with a bunch of crap.
The file that I showed you previously has about 200 stamps in it.
Yeah.
It's a,
So you'll notice that we've got a status folder, and so the part of the reason why I do this is I do a lot of writing and I do a lot of auto magical creation of notes and stuff, which I've shown in my other files. But I have a terms folder, right? And so and this might be useful for as you're doing your class, right? You might have terminology that you want to be teaching the students, and so you want to define those terms. And so that's where this could go in, and then you could be writing reports and papers and stuff out of the terminology from this. And then since you're teaching English, one of the things I could see you might doing in kind of the preparation for your class is, and this is kind of what we were talking with Win last week. So maybe you've got a topics folder, right? So, and then another one might be here, your assignments folder. Right. So every class is going to, over time, will, I suspect you're going to be using or leveraging the same assignments, when you teach future classes in different classes. So this becomes kind of like I don't know if you know the term Zettelkasten, but this resources folder becomes kind of like your persistent note asset library that you'll be able to reproduce across multiple classes and leverage it and refine it and incrementally improve these resources over time.
Mhm.
as opposed to letting the classes be more dynamic,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. And we'll get back to that in just a minute. But going back to this argument here, so remember every note in Tinderbox has every attribute is populated in every note, whether or not it's got one or not. And so you see, I've got my status attribute here. Because I removed suggested, there's no suggested in here. But what I want is I want to be able to have this suggested show up everywhere. So one of the ways to have this to do that is you go and write an edict, and you say status equals collect children name. Right? So this edict will always be running. It's always going to run the name. And now you'll see that it automatically populated that for me. And so now if I've got another note, status, for example, and I populate that up here, okay, and I'll tell you why it didn't work. That drop down gets listed. So what's wrong with what I just did? What's wrong is my type of status is a string, it's not a set.
Right.
So if I fix that, now it's fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've got a drop-down list. Now the reason why I like to do that is
yeah.
the reason why I like to do that is I like to define what do I mean by scheduled. Right? Having a note called scheduled gives me the opportunity to define what I mean by that.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
Having a note called canceled gives me an opportunity of what do I mean by that.
I
And
see.
so that also allows me to take that text and populate that into my syllabus.
Right.
And so, here's what we mean. Here's our grading library. Here are the definitions of the thing we're doing in our class.
Right.
Right. And I'll show you something else that will, if we'll either build it in your file in real time if we have time. If we don't, I will show you something else wickedly cool. So that's kind of just a different method. And so so complete, scheduled, maybe you could call, another status might be postponed. And because we did it this way, I didn't have to go into the attributes channel to manage it. And you'll notice that postpone now has automatically become one of the values that is now accessible everywhere.
Right.
Right. So it just makes it it's a lot more easier and a lot more flexible to be managing your file in this way.
So I have a question. Why is status type folder in together with topics folder, assignments folder, and term? I can see terms, but it seems like topics folder and assignments folders. So are these just like define these folders like assignments folders? Is that just another set of definitions or?
No, not necessarily. So I might like this assignment 1. So by the
I
way,
see.
I also use prefixes for a strategy to help me distinguish notes of different names. So let's call this like writing.
Sure.
Number 1, and then maybe we have assignment. Oral test, oral number 1. Right. And then, so as I was saying before, you've structured this class, right? And then maybe you got a quiz. Right. So these are, so think about it in the nature of, as a teacher, you very well may have 50 different types of assignments that you teach over time.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're actually preparing this particular class 1, you can then go ahead and select which one of these you want. Mm-hmm. Right? So you're essentially creating a library for yourself that you can later reuse for your future self. Right? And what this also does is this then allows you to, and so with that in mind, you start saying, okay, well, we need an assignment. prototype, and let's give an assignment prototype. What kind of symbol do we want to assign? Topic. What would be a good icon for an assignment? Okay, so that's our assignment. And let me show you another trick too that I do all the time. So you noticed how the reason why I like to use what I call a prefix on note names is that later when you're doing things like the parking lot list and you're looking for different notes, you can actually in this list. So let's say I had two notes named the word writing, and I had another note down here named the word writing. And I went to the parking lot list and I wanted to go find the notes writing. How do I distinguish which one's which?
Sure.
How do I know which one's an assignment versus which one's a different type of writing?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I use prefixes to be able to help me distinguish between that.
I see, because there's no icon in that dialogue.
Right, and the kind of the list management and activities. So and then when you're doing assignments, so what do you have in assignment? So you've got it's type. And it could be points, grade, like points, grade, and then we'll think about other things that we might stick on that. But let's go ahead and just make that set. Make grade number. All right. So then later, so when you're thinking about your assignments, every assignment has, what type is it? It's a writing assignment. This is a oral assignment. Right. So then later you can then go do a search. For this particular class, give me all of the assignments that were related to that, which then makes me think too, from our prototype, we want this to be class. And I'll show you that is set to. So we've got a class attribute. And then what we're going to do is we want the assignment to automatically pick up the name of the class that it got associated with. So if I move this assignment into class 101, I'll know that class assignment is related to 101. Right. But that's so that's some of what we're going for here. Now, so why did I do that? And then so we know within so every class is going to have students, lectures, and assignments. Is there anything else that happens in a class?
I need to
Maybe teacher
usually
notes.
just in the text box, I put in what I need, the basic outline of the class.
Okay. So maybe you have some teacher notes for that class, things that you want to drop in there to help you think about. And then in the class, this is where I would I'm thinking you want topic. Oh no, sorry, I did it wrong. This goes class day. The class has this class day. Teacher notes goes in the day. Yeah. And then we have the topic that you're covering for that class. And you might cover multiple topics. And this goes, and we don't need, okay. So by doing this, what I can do now, if I go assign the prototype of class, make sure we got it. Assign the prototype to class now. If I make this none, and now I assign class, you'll see that it's automatically adopted all of the prototypes in that. So whenever you build a new class now, all you need to do is say, so if I want to go build a new class, class 301, add that prototype.
Hmm.
Oops, there we go. I deleted it. And that prototype, and now I've set up the structure that I have for every class. Make sense?
Hmm.
Okay. So let's go ahead and now let's play around with the grading a little bit and the students, and let's see if let's populate this with students. So let's say you got from the school a list of students, and let's do this. Let's go to ChatGPT real quick, and we say, please give me a list of 10 synthetics. Right.
Mm.
So I've got 10 student names. So I'm going to paste that in there. And what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to undo that. I'm going to paste it without formatting. Okay. And you'll notice here that I've got some often when you're ChatGPT will often insert hidden tab tags.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this is actually a tab tag. And if you're using a tool like BB Edit,
Hmm.
if you're not when you, and you're pasting in content like that, you can actually see when I paste that into BB Edit, you're
Hmm.
actually seeing the invisible characters of the tab there.
Hmm.
And the tab is represented as a /T.
Hmm.
So in doing that, what we can now do is we go to Tinderbox and we say, hey, Tinderbox, will you break at the delimiter of /T and at the \D1. Okay, maybe that won't work. Let's see. \D1. Okay, we don't need to do the /T at this point. So what I'm now doing is I'm typing in the regular expression for numerical number. And so /D period says, go find me anything that has a numerical number of, and if I put a plus, it will say, go find me the, oh, oops, not equals. Go find me the notes that have one or more digits with a plus and a period in front of them. So now when I hit that explode, it's now given me all of my students' names. So
Hmm.
there are our 10 students. And so now let me, and before I move this up, so we have a students folder here. So let's go back and fix that really quick. And I'll show you a little trick I have here too. So I use on ads for my, and if I in here I say on ad equals prototype the student. And then we want to say, and then this is another trick that I really love. If name equals untitled, then I want name equal to student hyphen. Okay. So what this allows me to do, okay, actually, this is interesting too. I've never done this one. If else, I want name equal to student space plus name. Right? So by doing that and putting in this on ad, when I move these students into the out of the explode and into the student folder, come on, my processor is going to go like that. That should have worked, but it didn't. Let's see. Okay, well we can go ahead. We can go ahead and what did I do wrong here? I know why. Because let me undo those notes and just make sure it works. For whatever reason, this. Oh, which folder was I selecting when I put in that on ad? I think I was typing. I think I randomly grabbed the wrong folder. Yeah, you see, I did it in the student folder here. What I don't want to do, what I want to do is do it in, and if I want to, actually, let's do it here. Yeah, I should have done it here, but because we already had pre-populated these, that's right, that's what happens. We need to have all folders have an on ad. There we go. Now that we've done that, and what we want to do here is make this just blank generic for every folder. So that way we can easily modify stuff later. But now we'll go up to this one, replace it with that. So now we do this. And so it all automatically populated that. But I think wrong here. If S, let's just see what's wrong with my code. If name, okay, what I did wrong is you see it's a single equals, not a double equals.
Uh-huh.
So that's why my condition was off. So if it equals untitled, right? So let's go ahead and just see if I move that, that will get fixed. All right. Well, I don't know what's wrong with that. I'll have to fix that in a minute. Name, if name. Oh, and if you look here, I don't have a quote. Put in a semicolon, not a quote. That was the problem. Move that one out and put it back in. There you go. So now that's it. This is a way for me to now, if I've exploded, I can now automatically get my prefix onto every student name. Right. So this is whenever possible, I hate repeating myself. So whenever possible, I want Tinderbox to automatically do the work for me. And then I can show you, I'll show you something else I do with my notes. And I put this in all of my notes and I'll grab it from one of my own Tinderbox files to show you. I have a function that I use for every one of my notes, and I'll drop it into this one. Right? So this is called my short title function. And I do something else with my notes. What that does, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create I don't necessarily always show it here, but we'll go ahead and show it now. Short title. So because I want my reports to work, when I'm running a report, I don't want STD in front of Emily's name. I just want to see Emily. So by having the short title, and I'm going to put this short title in the, and what the short title is doing is basically when you see the name and you see the hyphen in front of the name, make everything following the hyphen equal to the value of short title. And then what we want to do is not put this here. I didn't do it right. What we're going to do is on the student attribute, we want to make the short title attribute equal to the result of the function. So now that I've done that, you'll see then when I'm running my reports, let me go ahead, Emily, add short title. Oops. Right. That's the value I'll pull when I want to run a table or report. This is the value I actually see in my Tinderbox file.
Can you explain functions to me? I don't understand functions at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, action code is action code is action code. Right? Function. So you know how to write a stamp. You understand what edicts are. You understand what rules are, correct? Right? So all a function is doing is it's putting the action code in the body of a note. And
I see.
so this is the action code that you otherwise would have put in a stamp, right? And what this is doing is it's basically saying, hey Tinderbox, go, hey Tinderbox, go run this code. And so what Tinderbox is doing is great. You're in the, so rather than putting all of this code in an edict or putting all of this code in a rule, you stick the code in a function. And so then when you actually look at the note, rather than having just lines and lines of code in here, you're just
Yeah.
telling Tinderbox, go run this function and
Right.
then return its value back to this attribute.
Could we go back to that to the function again for one moment? So the top line is just basically saying this
On
is
the
a function.
function, this is my name.
Yep.
This parentheses is, are you passing me any values?
Okay.
All right. And then it's saying
So
create
what's pull short title?
it's my comment telling me what it's doing is pulling the
Oh,
short out of
okay.
there,
Okay. So the
right?
backslashes, those are
Or,
backslashes?
or how to make a comment.
Okay, I see. Okay.
This is making a variable string,
So that's just defining the variable.
defining the variable, and then I'm saying, okay, now make the value of the variable the name
Okay,
following.
I just want to ask just a dumb question, but does this mean that the variable is a string and the string is short
Correct,
title?
correct,
Yeah?
and the string is short title,
All right.
right? And then if I
Can
were
you
to write,
also go can you also go var colon set?
yes,
Okay.
var colon set, var colon list, var colon boolean, whatever you want.
Okay. All right.
Right? And the great thing about variables is and by the way, you can write variables in any action code,
Uh-huh.
in stamps, in rules, and edicts. Anywhere you write action code, you can write variables. And the great thing about using variables as opposed to attributes is if you're trying to do a calculation or you're trying to do something else, why populate chaff into a hard-coded attribute when you only need it temporarily for whatever process you're running?
Right.
Right? So it kind of keeps your file clean.
Right.
Right? And so then what we're saying is then when the function's done, we're saying return the value of short title back to the note. And so then if I go here, so we're telling Tinderbox, hey, Tinderbox, go run the function short title. And then Tinderbox returns the value of that function back to the attribute short title. And so that's now how I've got short title for every one of my students' names.
Right. So could you just go back to the function
Yeah, of
again
course,
just for
of
one
course,
moment?
of course.
Um, okay, so I don't quite understand I understand how it's saying return the value short title to the note, but how does it get there? From where? That I
Okay.
don't.
So think about the flow, right? So
Uh-huh.
I've got a note called Emily.
Mm-hmm.
Emily's hanging out.
Yeah.
And the edict triggers for the
Ah,
note Emily
so can you show me the edict for a moment?
right here. It's on the screen.
Oh, sorry, I've zoomed in so I can't see it. Okay, now I got it.
So the edict for Emily triggers, and the
Ah,
edict says,
okay.
go run this function.
I see, I see, I
And
see,
then
I see.
once you're done running that function, return that value back to the attribute short title.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right. And so functions are really great to get long chunks of code out of
Yeah,
an edicts and somewhere else.
right. I
And
see.
I'll show you like in one of my files, here's one of my more complex functions,
Jesus.
right?
Right.
And again, this is an example of, what's the input here? So if I show you the input of that note is saying, and I have a whole other strategy too. I have like tens of thousands of notes in many of my files. So, oh, my computer just froze on me. Okay. Sorry. Come on, come on, go away, go away.
Hmm.
My computer's freezing on me. Sorry. Okay. So I have tens of thousands of notes in many of my files. So rather
Uh-huh.
than having these edicts and rules constantly running, I have another strategy that I do for my notes where I have I have what's called on visit stamps. And so when I visit a note, that triggers the code
Oh, right.
as opposed to it being in rules and edicts. And that doesn't
Right.
matter when you have a smaller file, but when you have a
Right.
file with 15,000 notes and those 15,000 notes are all running 100 or more rules or edicts,
Right.
now it got millions of operations running every second when it's not
Right.
necessary,
Right.
right? So this is something I stumbled on about a year ago. And so here's an example. Hey, Tinderbox, take this, call this function, pass these attribute values to pass the values of all of these attributes over into the function, and then do your thing. So those are examples of how that works. And if we have time, I can give you more examples of that. So
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 thank
you
you.
yeah, no worries. So that's what we're here for. So and you notice I've got a bunch of chaff from the explode that was left in text. So
Uh-huh.
often what I'll do there is I will create a where is my come on. I've got a couple hundred browser tabs open right now. So
Mhm.
come on. Ah, that's my 5C school tinderbox file. All right. Okay. So that's when I'll just write a quick stamp and I'll say, text equals nothing, and just clear those out.
Mm.
That way I just get rid, just get rid of all that chaff in the note. And so now I've got my students and some of the things that you might have for a student as I think about it is grade, total grade. The total points that they've received so far in the class. Okay. So let's now play around with a little bit of this week. So we're in week 1. And in week 1, we didn't actually have, and actually our assessments folder, I think should probably go into weeks, wouldn't it? As I think about it,
Yeah.
because right, because you're actually doing assessments within each week, not just within the class, right? And then and assessments should be folder, and we'll just go ahead here. And this kind of just shows you the examples of incremental formalization as you're doing that. So that will be a folder. Okay. And we call it assessments or assignments or whatever you want. Go like this. Now we've got the assessments there. Okay. Now here's where I think it could be really interesting. There's we've got about 30 minutes left, and so let's try to accomplish 2 things in this 30 minutes. One of them is managing attendance, and the other one, if we've got time, let's play with grades, like
Okay,
grading.
so with attendance, what I really want is some kind of dashboard
Yeah.
that when a student is absent more than twice, it turns yellow. When they're
Okay.
absent three
Okay.
times, it turns red.
Okay. So let's play with that. So we've got our students. Let's create a prototype we'll call P agent. And for me, I always use this little heartbeat for my agents. And I find agent query. Agent action. Agent priority. Are all ones I stick in there. That's fine. There we go. Right. So the other thing too is for agents, you don't necessarily want them running all the time unless you have to have them running.
Exactly.
So what we're going to do is we're going to call this one agent, and then in a class, we're going to have another folder called attendance. No, we're going to put the agent here. We're going to call this one Oh, I know what we're going to do. What I want to do is I'm going to create an agent here. I'm going to call it attendance. And I'm going to assign it the P agent prototype. So now in my classes, I've got a attendance folder, and this will be really fun to show you how to do this. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to hard code this for now. So we're going to put the attendance in each class. And this particular set of attendance is going to have class number, a class name, and class date as attributes. They're going to be strings. And what we want to make sure is okay. So that's great there. Oh, actually, we don't want them there. There we do. Because not here, we want them on the agents because it's adopting adopting from this agent. We'll call this one agent attendance.
Oh, come.
Okay, and then we need to reset that displayed attributes. So, okay, so now we've got our agent attendance. And what we want to do for our agent attendance, this is going to be kind of fun because part of what we want, we want Tinderbox automatically managing stuff for us where it can. So on our agent attendance, we want to have our class name equal, here we do this. Because if you move things around, you don't want it to nuke it accidentally. If class name equals nothing, then make class name equal to the name grandparent. Likewise, if class date equals nothing, make class date equal to the, and for now we can change this later, but name to the parent.
Yeah.
Right. So by doing that, we're now automatically, in this case, the great, we don't want the,
Oh, I see.
right?
Uh-huh.
So we don't want the grandparent because what we really want is that one. And
Yeah.
so on these folders, what we want to say, and there really isn't I don't think there is a great grandparent. We'll see if there is. I doubt there is, but let's see.
Parent of a grandparent?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Grandparents. Parents. Yeah. We'll have to ask Mark how to do that because you could say ancestor, but I don't think that works. So then what you could do is you can run the action code that when you are adding folders to the class, yeah, for now, when you're adding folders to the class, you're going to do here and you'll say assessment folder is class name, teacher notes, class name, right? And the reason why we do that,
You just do an on add and pass it down.
yeah. So for now, let's just do this class name, and we'll grab class 101. Right. So you get how you could play with the automation there,
Uh-huh.
so that now, okay, and again, it's not going to hit. It's because we said if it's empty,
Uh-huh.
don't do that.
Uh-huh.
Right. So that was kind of the way, and the reason why I have these if conditions in there sometimes is if I happen to move this out of the way, I don't want that to be overwritten.
Right.
And so it's not the name of the, not the name, it's class name from the parent. There you go. That will do. All right. And so then we can delete that again. Okay. So essentially now we've got our class name, we've got our week one for this. And why did that work? Why did we keep, oh, because I didn't change it there. I changed it in the actual note. So this needs to be class name. Okay. Now we've got because I don't change it here, I change it here. Ah, now this is going to work. You just got to remember what note you're on, right? So now you see when we have attendance, you know what class that attendance is for and which week, or whatever date or something of that nature. So then what we want the attendance agent to do is to go get the students for that class. And so here's what we're going to say is we're going to say inside. And I personally like to do this.
Uh-huh.
ID. So I use IDs. And what we want to do here is down on our agent.
Oh, so you can use an ID instead of a path.
Yep. Inside. So let's keep that as our attendance. All right. So I'm going to grab that. And I'm going to say inside that note.
Could you just do that one more time?
I
What you
can't.
just
Let
did.
me just make sure I got it right before we do it. Run the agent. Or maybe we need to say descended from, just a minute. Agent query. My agent not running. Hold on.
Descended from agent, agent query agent.
Let me just double check something. Where's my query? So I don't know why my agents aren't running. Yeah, Insight should have worked. Side. No. Oh, and I'll need the semicolon. All right. And so then we should be able to do this. Which one? And I wonder if I have to turn off some other Tinderbox files real quick. Let me close some of these. I think I've just got too much running.
What does the error statement say?
I don't know. Let's find it real quick. Notes on ad can't be parsed. That's fine.
That's Kankanai.
It's just from the prototypes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Inside seven. Why isn't that agent running? Agent priorities one. Let's just let's create another agent real quick. Oh, and you know what? Because I think it's not an agent, it's a note. That is one of the problems that you have when doing it the
Yeah.
way you did it.
Yeah.
You
Right.
copy the agent. I copied the notes.
Right. Oh, but it looks like it
No, it is an
agent.
agent. It is an agent. It is an agent. So why isn't it running? So let's just test our file. We'll grab another agent. It could have to be something to do with, and we'll say inside. Should need the IDOPS. The agent prototype. Yeah, I'm gonna get this note ID here. Should get me my. All right. When in doubt, let me do this. I'm going to stop my screen. I'm going to close Tinderbox real quick.
Right.
Oh, before I close Tinderbox, I'm going to save this file. I don't lose what we just did. Published. Close that. Quit Tinderbox. I think I've got like 7 Tinderbox files open right now. Would be confusing. I doubt that that's what it is, but let's go ahead and share my screen again. Share screen. Then on. Yeah, there you go. So there you go. So there are our students for every class. So let's copy this one here. Okay.
Mhm.
And you can get the whole like if conditional this blank that does make your copying and pasting easier in the edict, right? You can refine that at some point. So we have our students, and so now what we want to be able to do is if checked. Oh, I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. So what we have a student and so we can say like attended. Class attended. So if we make that a set, and we on a student, we also said on the agent. Let's see. It's a Boolean. So if I have a student, let's play around with it. So if I have a student and I check that box,
But if I check the box in that agent, won't because it's an alias, won't it be the same in all of the other agents? So then it won't be a unique value for that day.
no, because what I want to do this, I want to say if it's for the agent, right? So if
Hmm.
I do this, and let's do it. So as we're experimenting, it's kind of good to start with a stamp. So we'll say if checked equals true, then class attended plus equals
You're missing a D.
yeah, class attended plus equals what was the date of the class? Class date?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So by doing that, what we've effectively done is if I check this, now Emily, okay, let me make this lighter. If checked equals true, then class attended plus equals class date parent.
Does the attendance agent have the class date?
It does. Maybe we need class date agent, class date. Oh, who's
Yeah, class,
no, yeah, it's the agent.
class date agent.
Um, but I'm not an agent. So how do you tell the alias of it? Because right now the parent of
So yeah, it would be the class date of the agent, just like class date of an adornment, class date.
let's see if that will work. See, it won't work because I'm not an agent. Class date. How does an alias class date original?
Hmm.
Or what you could do is, yeah, that's interesting. How do we get the, hang on, is my action code right? Yeah, so if checked equals true. Oh, shit. Not checked, attended,
Oh, right, right, right.
right?
Class, yeah, right, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh, right, right.
And then I need class date parent. There you go. All right. So now Emily attended week 1. Emily attended week 2, right? So, and then what you want to do is you do this. So then what you do on the stamp, you want to then say, if that's done, then you want to say, um, attended equals false. So then you turn off the attended, and let's say, and here's an interesting thing to think about too. You take, you say attendance stamp. I don't know if you're familiar with this capability. So if I go down to my students and in the edict, or let's put it in a rule because we want it to be fast, we say stamp. So if you don't want to use a function, you can also do that. So that way you can say, go and let's see, let's go down to our attendance stamp again. Attendance, oh, equals. There we go. All right. Now, okay, and then if Emily has now attended week 3, and it should have been, I guess I don't think we got the week 3. I think I messed up. 3 weeks. Yeah, I hadn't. No, 3. Why? Oh, and it's getting an empty because this. All right, doesn't. Okay, that seems weird. Just a minute. Was false. Okay, the stamp did work for us before,
Is it taking longer to run the code to
maybe. So let's
get the
remove
value to string than it is to turn off the Boolean check?
maybe. That should no, it shouldn't do that. Let's just double check this. Mhm. So it's not working here either. So what is wrong with attended class attended equals class date parent? And class date equals this. Three. There you go. So let's go ahead and do that again. If attended equals true, then class attended equals class date parent. And then attended, and then we make attended equal to false. We'll have to go back and put that stamp. Clipboard. And now let's see if we run that. That's funny. So let's try this. It should make,
Maybe the rule is, oh, yeah, no.
yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, and somehow I nuked my stamp name. Then class attended equals.
Later, can you explain the plus equals operator?
Yeah, I can. So basically what that's doing is it's saying add to, add this value to the set.
So what's
So
the difference between that and just a plus?
because plus, yeah, because the assignment operator is the assignment operator is the equals this. So if I just say equals, then you're saying make class attended equal to class date.
Oh, I guess so. I guess it's the same as class attended equals oh no, never mind.
Class attended plus class date.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's just a shorthand for that.
Okay.
That should turn off the no, that stamp works. So I'll go up to Emily now and I check that. I want to remove this. Oh, and I got to reset the rule for Emily. By the way, this is another real good trick. Set a rule. So if I do that and I now say Emily, okay, so I should be able to put that code in the rule. Emily's week 2. Emily also um, 2. Emily attended week 3. That not working. If class attended equals true. That's so strange because it works when we apply the stamp.
Right.
We may run out of time to
Uh-huh.
do this, but let's just get that out of here. We'll reset Emily's rule again. Okay, but at least we have a stamp working for this.
Uh-huh.
And then we can talk to Mr. Bernstein or shoot him a note. So if Emily is checked and I apply the stamp week 3, Emily is checked. If I apply a stamp week 1. So now we have a way of using agents to collect how many stamps. Now let's go back to we only have a few minutes left. So let's go back to our last question of, turn Emily red if she's missed more than one stamp. So or more than one class. Now here's how I think we do that. We know there are 4 weeks in a class, in a course, right? And for fun, let's just 6, 7. So we have more math to work with. Math. And you know that you can play with action code that will fix some of this shaft that we have going on here, but right. So there's 7 classes, and if she misses 3 of them, 3 or more, then we do this. So a couple things to play with this, and I like to automate as much as I can just because it's fun. Sorry, I've got a 49-inch monitor, so I only can share part of the screen. So what we could do here, just to have fun with this, is we could say, we've got a number of classes, and that's a number. And then we could say number classes equals collect children count. I think there's a child count that we can do. So that way, if we add an 8th class,
for some reason I can't really see what's going on your screen.
All right, let me fix that. How about now? What I can do is stop sharing and share again.
Okay, thanks.
But now.
Yeah, great.
So we've got number of classes is 8. So I basically created an edict that will count the number of classes in a lecture schedule.
Uh-huh.
All right. And then and so we know 100% attendance is 8 classes.
Uh-huh.
Right. And so what we can do is we can then, for a student, do it down in the student prototype, we'll create an edict for, we'll create a stamp for fun to start with. And we'll say variable number. And let's just hard code it for now. We can figure out where we're going to get the number later. But variable number equals class v class count, and let's hard code it to 8. Right? And then we say variable number v attendance. And that will equal class 8 dot count. And then we say variable number the and we may, as a student, what we may want to do too is create an attendance. So we created an attendance percentage, and so then we don't need a variable here, and we'll say attendance percentage equals V attendance divided by V class count times 100. Okay, so by doing that, if we're up and looking at Emily right now, total number of classes is 8. She's attended 3. And what did I do here? V class. Oh, not V class date, V class attended. So far she's attended 37.5% of the classes. Now, what we want to do, and this is out now that I think about it, this is wrong, because if it's week 1, oh, that's how we do it.
Yeah,
If it's week 1,
would just
week
like
2, no, I got it. So what we want to do is class count. Let me just hack this up real quick, and then we'll find a more elegant way. But if we say class day and we have class count, okay, this is how you do it. Class count is a new attribute, and it's a number. And for a class count equals, oh, I didn't finish it. Okay. So we say, watch this. Class count equals sibling number, sibling order plus class count previous sibling. So now, if we do that, this is actually going to work out really well. Now, if we do that, we know the class count doesn't equal 8. Variable, all we need here is so we do that. So let's say we're in week 1. So week 1, the class count, hang on just a minute. Let's count 4. And we don't want this to be running on the prototype. So we say if prototype equals true, equals false. Then we'll run that because we don't want it running on the prototype ever. So here, this class count is 1. This class count is, why would that be 3? Weird. Oh, I know why. Because we don't need the class count. You just equal sibling order.
it should just be sibling order,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it should just be sibling order. I got ahead of myself. Right. So we've got our class counts. So in week 1, if Emily has got 1, if week 1 is so in week 1. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm running out of time, but it's going to be something like that. And I'll have to think about it, because basically what we want to do is, oh, and actually, let's think about it this way. This is how it's going to really work. So in week 1, if Emily attended week 1, then she's attended week 1. Let's say now in week 2, because we haven't populated. Emily
Well,
missed.
can you make an attribute something like class count, which counts every time the Boolean is clicked on, it just tacks another number. So
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
if
yeah. That okay, yeah.
attended,
Yeah, I was
she's
actually.
attended 3 classes, class count is 3. If she's attended 2, it's 2, for
Yeah, yeah,
example.
yeah. But and again, I got it. And again, here's what you write. So we need to put the class count on the student too. Right. That's smart. So class count here, and if we go back to our student attendance boolean, we say class count plus equals 1. So now we have how
Oh,
many,
wow.
right? So now we have how many, now we know how many classes Emily has taken. And plus we know which classes she's taken. So the nice thing about doing the class
Right,
attendance, we actually know which one she did.
right.
Um, so let's start over. So now
Okay.
Emily did class 1. So that, oh, we apply the stamp. Emily missed class 2 and she made it to class 3. So she's been 2 out of 3, right? And we know that this is the third class. And so then what we should be able to do is on the student edict we've got running here. What did a rule I put? Oh, I think I did it in Emily and not on the rule. Where did I do it? Or did I do it in a stamp? Was I doing it in a stamp here? A stamp, here it is. Right? So it's class count is it's V, it's class count. We don't need this. Times and that will be the grandparent class count divided by okay. If we do that, and we apply it, for week 1. Oh, because all right. So now we start over because we're in week 1. Got it. So in week 1, she hasn't done anything. Or week 1, you do it.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah, I got it. So week 1, you do it, and then her percentage will be 100%. And then week 2, you do it. She missed. And then in week 3, she attended week 3. And her percentage now is 66%.
right.
Right. And then what you can do is if her percentage is below, say 70%, make the color her color of her note red. So you can say if and then we can wrap it up here. If attended percentage is less than or equal to 70, then color equals bright yellow. Else color goes back to normal. So if we do that, Emily's now yellow. Right. And then if you play it. So that's kind of, there's going to be a lot to think through on like that, the logic of that, but this is going to be a way for you to be able to not have to have repeated number of students in the class. If students get added to the class, that will automatically reflect. If students' names change, and then you can also use this same strategy for rolling up their grades up into the individual student item.
So I just have one
Yep.
one question. You don't have to make a solution to it, but how would I then be able to make like a classroom map using the
So
alias?
so in that strategy, what I would do
Uh-huh.
is, and let's play with it a little bit. So we're using the agent of attendance, correct?
Uh-huh.
And I think, let me think how I want to do that. The way you're going to do the map is we're going to outline. We go to here, we double click on here, and we view it in a map view. And there are all of our students. And then you can have the map elements of the class
Uh-huh.
here. And so now, because you've got the agents, then you can just drag them. Right. And so what we do is you create in the agent's default map view, you create your outline of your class with the adornments, and that should work. If it doesn't, then you can we can have a stamp that says create the class layout in as adornments into the back of the agent, and then you can move them around. And then the one thing that I just learned about this, though, that you want to turn off on an agent is this. Go back to outline view. I remember on the agent what you want to do in this context, because what will happen is if you're doing agents and the agent runs, it will clean up.
Right.
So
Ah,
you want to set the cleanup action to none.
oh, okay.
Right. And then that will make sure that the agent doesn't reset the students.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Right. So I think that's how you're going to do it.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so that way you then can come in here. We can say, okay, let's double click on here. Let's look at the class in map view. We've got the map view. Let's move it down. And when the agent reruns, now you know exactly where they were sitting.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully this was useful for you.
Yeah, very.
We didn't accomplish everything, and we didn't get to the grading. But what I hope we got accomplished today was some strategies of using agents, strategies of using functions, strategies for testing and using stamps, new effective ways of playing with prototypes, creating a kind of a more, for me at least, a more visually appealing look. With the methods, and then you can do similar strategies with assignments and grading and all that, and then you've got this resources concept that you'll be able to then work across different classes.
Yeah. It's very helpful. Thank you.
All right, Tad. Well, we're going to do the APAC version of this first Friday of every month, so hopefully we'll see you again next month if you're available. And we'll have the recordings, and you can always join all of the other meetups as long as well. I'll make sure tomorrow at some point to go through the video and mask out students' names before we publish the video, just so we can keep that sensitivity stuff in.
Sure, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And anything else you need? Are we good?
Very selfishly, I usually have a class from 9 o'clock to 10:30 on Saturday mornings.
Okay.
So
and today you didn't. So
yeah,
we need to try to figure out a different time, because it doesn't really work for Mumbai as well. But I don't want to dedicate my Friday nights necessarily to.
Sure.
So we'll need to figure that out.
Okay.
But let's play it by ear. So, or maybe
because I will definitely attend.
Yeah.
If
if you're available.
I've been in the shadow, the APAC shadow of these meetings for a long time. And
yeah, and that's what I want to personally try to overcome is.
well, thank you so much. I really.
All right. Beautiful. Okay. Happy New Year. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. I hope you feel better soon.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Kenneth. See you later, man. Thanks.
Bye, Kenneth. Hope to meet you in the future.
All right. See ya. Bye-bye.